I do not remotely possess any comprehensive knowledge across any subject, aside from X-Files trivia and chord melodic theory information. I have not really gained a lot of ground in the former subject, but the latter I kind of want to talk about. So I'm going to do a lesson today about just any kind of melodic stuff you could add to pretty much any chord. I'm going to make it comprehensive, starting out at maybe something that's a little more beginner friendly, and then advancing by the end of the lesson to something that's maybe a little more intermediate advanced. But before we get to it, I have a sponsor for today's video, and if you watch any of my videos, you know that I rarely do sponsors, but this is a company that I am so down with. It's DistroKid. You may have heard me talk about them in the past. It is by far the best way to get any of your music online. It starts at $20 a year, and for $20 a year, you get unlimited uploads for singles, albums, however you want to release your music. This is important to me because I'm just finishing up my Celtic album, The Emerald Riders, and it just kind of reminded me of what a great service this is, just kind of uploading it. It literally takes less time to upload a full album and schedule it on DistroKid than it does to upload a YouTube video. So I'm super stoked to be working with them again. There's a link below in the description that's going to save you a percentage off your first year if you want to try it out. Again, it's so easy just to get all your stuff up on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, even TikTok now. So if you have anything in the past, it's worth just taking a shot, having a flyer, having it up on Spotify. It's still impressive to people just to tell people that you're on Spotify. That alone is worth $20 a year just to have the move to say, hey, I'm on Spotify. So please sign up for DistroKid. Anyways, we're getting into this. We're starting in the key of 2019, the key of F. Okay? So, what are we talking about even adding melody to a chord? Add melody to a rhythm, okay? You can have like a chord and you're just strumming, right? But that can be kind of bland, so you want to know your options of what you can do in a particular area, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this really simple F triad chord. A triad chord is only 3 different notes, right? So instead of playing a bar chord, I want to make this something we can do movable, right? So we're just going to play the first fret on the B string, the second fret on the G string, and the third fret on the D string. Okay, so here's our F major chord. And I'm going to talk about quickly all the different things that we can do around this to add some more melodic content to this chord, okay? First thing we can do is add your pinky to the high E string. Okay, now a principle of what we're talking about is making this movable. So what I mean by that is there are a couple other chords in F, which we're going to get to, that we can do the same move to. All this stuff is repeatable and it's really kind of easy to remember once you see the shapes. Okay, so we have this shape where you're using your pointer, middle, ring finger, and then we're going to add your pinky to the same fret that your ring finger's on, but the high E string, okay? So now, if you want to actually bar the high E string to get the first fret on the B and the E string, that's cool. That opens up this kind of option where you can hit your pinky with the high E string and then take it off to go back to the triad with your pointer finger, but it's definitely not necessary. You can actually just add it. All I'm doing there is I'm going through the chord, adding my pinky, taking it off. Again, you don't even need the high E string. And it adds a little something different. Now, if we were going to talk about this, this would be like an F add 9 chord would be a way to talk about this. We're adding a G to an F chord, okay? Now, another thing that's really easy is if you think of your pinky as just a free agent, you can do the same thing on the B string 3rd fret. Okay? Any single major chord, you can always do this move. Okay? Always works. Down here. So the first kind of tip as far as how this is movable is if this is the key that you're in, the key of F, to find the next major chord, you just go, again, I'm lining up my pointer finger on the 1st fret, because that would be where also the bass note would be if you do a bar chord. You just go from 1 to 6, 1 to 6. 5 frets higher is going to get you to the next chord, and then 2 frets higher is going to get you to the next chord there. Okay, so. Okay, Okay, so that's a very easy way to add just kind of like a really simple melody. And then you kind of have a little bit of a theme to your playing instead of just going like F. And it really, these subtle little things I think go a really long way, okay? Now the next thing we can do the same thing on the G string. Now it's a very kind of Hendrixy thing that you can do. This little hammer on with, again, it's all on the 3rd fret. E string, B string, G string, okay? Now, this is the first thing that you can't technically do on any major chord. I mean, you can always do it, it's gonna sound okay, but if you're staying in the key, which we're gonna get into later on in the video, this isn't always gonna work, but it's always gonna work on the 1st chord in a key. So if you can remember this chord right here, just 3, 2, 1, you can always remember that your pinky can add any higher string on that, and you're adding some kind of melodic content to it. And then again, like I said, that one sounds really good when you kind of do that. Hammer on and hammer off, right? So that's just on the F chord, any major chord we can get to, okay? The next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the 2 chord in the key of F, all right? So eventually what we're going to talk about is things that you can do on every single chord in any key that you'll run across. But before we do that, we need to know how we find these other chords in a key, all right? So it's like, all right, well, it's daunting to learn all the notes in a key, right? F has a F, a G, a A, a B flat, a C, a D, an E, and then it ends again on F, right? So there's 7 notes in any key. All of them are going to be represented by a letter of the musical alphabet, just A through G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then after G, it starts over again. One thing that you might just have to memorize, and I'll link you to other videos on how to kind of find any note in a key. F has a B flat, okay? It might just be easy for you to remember that. Try to memorize F has 1 flat, it's B. So again, if we're going through the musical alphabet, the 2 chord, the 2nd note in F is G. The 2 chord is always minor in any key. So now this brings us to our 2nd shape, okay? There's G, right here on the 5th fret of the D string. 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 3rd fret, all the way down. You can even play it even simpler by just grabbing the top 3 strings on the 3rd fret to get a G minor chord. The same thing is true for the 3 chord, which is A minor, and the same thing is true for D minor. Okay? These are all the minor chords in this key. Now to talk about how we can add a melody to this, I think the easiest way to do this is take a shape you already know, and that's going to be the minor pentatonic shape. A lot of people learn it in A first, right? You've probably done 5, 7, or 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. The reason that the pentatonic shape is so great is because it works over any minor chord. Now it'll sound better over certain minor chords than others, but it always stays in key on any minor chord that you can find, all right? So if we're in G, we're on the 2 chord, we can think behind this shape, right, or behind this shape, however you want to play it, is this scale. So if we wanted to add a melody to this, we can go backwards through the minor pentatonic scale, all right? So okay, we can do that any minor chord. So again, the minor chords in a key are the 2nd note, the 3rd note, and the 6th note. So I can do that. Okay, so these are different ways that I can add some kind of melodic content to anything. It might even be easier just to take that bar chord, go from the F to the 2 chord, just like that. And then if you want to have more of that, those kind of Hendrix double stop kind of hammer-ons and stuff, really, this is the easiest way you can do that. Just like that, think of minor pentatonic behind any of the minor chords, which again, are always just 2 frets higher from the 1st note, or a whole step is another way to say that, a whole step higher from that, and then going from the 5th fret to the 10th fret, another 5 frets, okay? So we have the 1 chord in F, F major, the the 2 chord in F, which is G minor, the 3 chord, A minor, the 4 chord, there's that B flat that we talked about. Remember, we went from the 1 to the 4, the 5, the 6 chord, minor again, and then we end up on the octave F, which is the first fret, 12, or the first chord we did, 12 frets higher, which ends up being the 15th fret, 14th fret, 13th fret. By the way, I'm rocking the D'Angelico Deluxe Atlantic. A lot of people have questions about this guitar. Awesome guitar. The pride of the Emerald Riders, which is an album coming to you soon through the good people at DistroKid. Alright, so we have a couple different options of what we can do on any minor chord, what we can do on any major chord. Now I want to kind of take a little bit more time to talk about what makes each of these positions special, okay? It's one thing to just do repeatable shapes over certain things, but if you really want to kind of add some melodic flavor and character to it, it's to emphasize what makes each spot special. Now, I'm going to get into a lot more detail on this on a series I did on the modes. If you've ever thought of like modes or heard modes and been super confused, I think this can be really helpful. All it is every single one of these spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're actually skipping the 7th note. It's the diminished chord, which, again, for time's sake, sadly we're leaving that out. Just we're taking the main 6 chords of this key and then finding out what makes each one of those special, right? They're not all identical. They can be either major or minor, but there's something that makes them special, like we said, okay? The first thing I want to talk about is the 2 chord, all right? There's something special about the 2 chord where, remember, we said we had that minor pentatonic thing here. Over any minor chord, on the 2 chord, there's a special thing that you can do, which is right here. It's kind of like a major chord. Remember when we had that F major chord and you can put your pinky in? You can do that same thing with a G minor chord. Kind of like a little Queens of Stone Age thing right there. Alright, if you've ever heard that song before, great one. Quiz, answer it in the comments. Who knows that one? Now this is called the Dorian mode. That can be super confusing for people. All it is, it just means that in this particular spot on the neck, the 2 chord, the minor chord can have this note on top of. Okay, so really if you want to kind of add a certain flavor, certain melodic content to that, really signal that note out in your playing. And it has a certain vibe, a certain flavor to it, like I said. We can do the same thing on the 3 chord. Again, remember we did that minor pentatonic thing. This note, or this chord's position that is special would be going from the 5th fret to the 6th fret, like that. That little half step. So if you do the minor pentatonic, that's something that sounds really kind of attention-getting, maybe? Right there. By itself, it sounds almost kind of like wrong, right? The name for that would be Phrygian. It sounds wrong there. But if we do the same kind of melodic thing where I'm taking a chord, and then I'm adding that second note, see how I snuck that in there? In the context of everything else, it doesn't sound bad because, again, it belongs there. It's kind of like the special thing that you can do on the 3 minor chord. The same thing about the 4 chord, right? We said the 4 chord is major. This is B flat, again, in the key of F, because now you have that memorized. F only has 1 flat, and it's B. You can do that. It's not that hard. All we have to do here is do my absolute favorite thing. This is my favorite chord in any key. This is where the Lydian mode exists. Now remember, let's go back to that F chord. We said that some of the melodic stuff we can do here is that thing where your pinky can take any fret. You can't really. Right there. That note isn't in the key. This has a sharp 4. Is that kind of riff again, right? So, again, this would be the Lydian mode, if you wanted the name for it. But all that means is you can do the same inflections as they were, but when you get to the G string, you have to go one higher because this mode, the special thing about it is it has a sharp 4 is what it's called. Really something cool that you can do there, all right? Now if we keep going a step higher, this is the 5 chord. For all intents and purposes, those inflections that we did on the 1 chord in F, we can do on the 5 chord, which this is a C major chord, right? Now the cool thing about the 5 chord is we have this guy right here, where you take your pinky and go one step higher. It kind of makes it like a dominant 7 chord, a C7. Alright, so by adding that higher, you're adding kind of like a groovy, bluesy thing there. We can back that up. Now, I think a great example of this is just how different you can make stuff that's all in the same key sound by taking what's special about that and adding that into your melody in some way. All right? Now, to D minor. The only thing special about this is that it's where rock and roll was born. Okay? This is just straight up minor pentatonic. Any kind of blues lick you ever want to do happens on the 6th chord, also known as the relative minor in a key, okay? So this is where the minor scale lives and breathes all the time, okay? So I think that's what I'm going to say is special about that. So if we go back to everything, the special thing about the key of F is that this is just the daddy chord. This is the key that we're in. So everything is, all roads lead back to F. That's what's special about this in this key, or the 1 chord. It doesn't have to be F. All this stuff is movable, right? So we've got the 1 chord. We've got the 2 chord. We have that special Dorian along with the minor pentatonic stuff. Same thing, minor pentatonic on A. But remember what was special about the 3 chord? Right there. The highest string, that 1 fret space. Now from here, we go a half step higher to B flat. We can add that melodic content on top. Then add the sharp 4 to 5. Add the pinky on the B string higher to get that dominant 7. Take it home to D minor. Add all your blues licks. And then take it all the way back home to F. So again, that's a lot of stuff that we can do with just thinking of one shape, really, per major or minor chord. And then thinking of having the melody. Now, the reason I'm focusing on the highest 3 strings is because a lot of times, specifically with guitar music, the melody, what you hear kind of stand out most, is going to be on top of the chord. Right? When you're playing like an A minor, that note is really standing out. So I think that's like a great approach to it as far as how you can add melody to your chords, to your rhythm playing, even if you just want to. Because it just kind of makes an impact, and I think it'll make your playing sound a little bit more musical. So again, there's a lot of information here, but really just run through it, you know? Let's do everything in the key of G, the people's key, just by moving it up, all right? So G also just has 1 sharp, F sharp, the very last one. So it's really kind of an easy one to remember. Everything is exactly the same, but now G is our parent key. So we do all that stuff on G, major, the 2 chord. Again, the sharp is on F, so the 2 chord, G starts again at the beginning, A. Remember we said before we can do minor pentatonic, but we have the 5th to the 7th fret to get that Dorian sound. The 3 chord is B minor. The special thing is going to be that half step right there. The 4 chord now is C. There's that. We can do the other major. And then that special Lydian note that I love so much. Now the 5 chord is D. Remember the special thing there is it's called a flat 7, where your pinky goes higher on the B string. You don't even have to think of the names of this. You don't even have to be like, oh, this is the D major dominant 7 chord. You can just think this is the 5 chord in whatever key this started in. See how much, that's so much tastier than just playing G to D. G to D. G to D. Adding some of that sauce. Sounds so much better just kind of adding some of that stuff. And again, there's a time and a place for everything. A lot of times just strumming a G to D is totally fine, but you want that to be a choice that you make as compared to something you feel like you have to do. So again, D major, the 6th chord in the key of G, E minor. Now I'm kind of borrowing the 12th fret, thinking of that. Bluesy, minor scale stuff. And then we're going to skip the 7 chord because, again, we're not getting too crazy, and then back to G. All right? All this stuff is movable. The best advice I can give you is just to make the connections between chords. What's special about them? And then kind of just experiment and find out what types of sounds, what types of flavors, what types of ingredients you really like to do. So, again, hopefully that's comprehensive enough that maybe you learned something. Again, special thanks to DistroKid for sponsoring the video. Because, like I said, it's such a great service. I can't believe that it's $20. I remember back in the day, I had to use like TuneCore and CD Baby, and it was 2 to 3 times the price of that, and the interface was clunky, and it just drove me crazy. That's why when I first figured out the DistroKid was like legit, I was so happy. Just the unlimited amount of stuff that you can put on there is like such a game changer. Again, I wouldn't have it be a sponsored video if it wasn't a company that I truly believe in, love working with, and use myself. So definitely check that out if you have any ambitions to get your music online. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. And if you want more of this kind of teaching, along with backing tracks and stuff, consider taking the masterclass that I did with my buddy Justin, or the one with Ian, or the fingerstyle one that I did with my friend Kyle. All that stuff is going to be linked in the description. Thanks a lot for staying with me this long, and keep on jamming.